I know what you're thinking. You've read the title and you've thought, well, this guy's lost his mind, I'm going to disregard anything that he has to say. But hold on. Give me a chance. I'm going to try to red pill a few of you guys. I think what DICE just announced with this class system they're detailing inside of Battlefield Labs is actually good. And a lot of people are freaking out about it. There is a trend on Reddit and even in the Battlefield Discord. People are typing certain hashtags, hashtag lock weapons, hashtag return to BF4, all this stuff. But in today's video, I'm really going to try to detail why this class system they announced for Battlefield 6 is not nearly as bad as people are trying to make it seem. So bear with me, this is going to be a long and very detail-oriented video. If you do enjoy the channel and want to follow Battlefield 6, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. I also stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders. First link in the description. The first thing I'm going to do is detail the Battlefield Labs post that they put out, and I'm going to go through that step by step, and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts in detail, section by section. Additionally, I'm also going to go over a statement from David Sirland, who many of you know is one of the main people working on the next game. Alright, now let's start going over the official Battlefield Labs post. One thing I will say before I start going over this is I think a lot of people are losing a lot of the fine details in the initial outrage of this. Really try to listen to what I present in this video because I think a lot of you will understand it. The Battlefield Labs post starts off with this. It is a community update and it's the class system part 1. Quote, "Today we're excited to start outlining our future vision for the class system in Battlefield. The gameplay mechanics of classes and aspects that players have enjoyed most have evolved throughout the history of the Battlefield franchise. Our goal within Battlefield Labs is to test and refine the best aspects of the class system from our history and to evolve them into a cohesive vision for the future. As we begin playtesting these class-defining systems, we invite you to either play, test, or read along with what's to come for classes in Battlefield." The next thing they go over is their design philosophy for the class system in Battlefield 6. Quote, "We envision the future of Battlefield classes to be a series of interconnected systems and fundamentals that shape your role on the field, while granting you the freedom to customize how you execute that role. Through Battlefield Labs play sessions, feedback, and data gathering, we aim to strike a balance between defined roles and player choice." Then they provide us with this image right here. As you can see, this is a diagram that clearly separates the different aspects of the class system. On one side, you have the customizable aspects of this class system, and on the other side are the class-defining aspects of the class system. In the customizable side, we see weapon loadouts, training, class gadgets, and throwables, and on the class-defining side, we see signature weapons, gadgets, traits, and weapon packages. Continuing with the post that explains this image, quote, "The class system is defined by two main components, customizable and class-defining. The customizable components empower players to explore and push the boundaries of their roles within the chosen class while also still adhering to the expectations of the class. The class-defining components are designed to enhance pick-up-and-go playability and reinforce the expectations of your class identity." Then they go on to explain these two separate sides of the class system, and they start with the customizable side. Weapon loadouts. Fully customizable weapon loadouts allow you the freedom to play the way you want. Play to the strengths of your class by using the signature weapons, or easily switch to any weapon to meet the needs of your squad. Class gadgets. You'll have the option to carry 2 gadgets onto the battlefield tailored to each class and a specific role. Recon aficionados specialize in intelligence and counterintelligence, with class gadgets including deploy beacons, anti-personnel mines, and laser designators. One very small note here, in my personal opinion, having 2 gadgets on top of a class gadget, giving you a total of 3 gadgets available to you while you play Battlefield 6 is a little too much in my opinion. I think you should only be able to choose 1 gadget and then you have your class gadget available to you. I think 3 is too much. Training. Our philosophy with training is to offer a series of traits that can be unlocked during play to enhance your ability to perform your role. As you engage more in a match, you'll gradually earn flat stat bonuses and more to support the effectiveness of your role further. Throwables. Our approach to throwables prioritizes enabling each class to effectively fulfill its role by providing tailored throwable options. Now, on the class-defining side of things, we have signature weapons. Each class has a signature weapon category tied to their class identity, which, when used, enhances their role on the battlefield. For example, Using our same ongoing test subject, the Recon class, if you select a weapon from the sniper rifle category, you will benefit from increased breath-holding duration. In contrast, an assault player choosing the same category will not receive this bonus. DMRs, carbines, and shotguns remain viable options no matter your class, but do not benefit from any signature weapon bonus. Signature traits. Each class features a unique signature trait, providing passive bonuses tailored to optimize your role on the battlefield. For instance, a recon player automatically spots enemies while aiming down sights, encouraging the use of weapons that complement this specialization. Again, I'm going to have a brief note here. There is absolutely no situation or reason why recon players should be able to automatically spot you simply by aiming at you. This should be changed immediately, and I hope people are providing that feedback inside of Battlefield Labs, because that is a ridiculously broken perk in my opinion. Signature gadget. These gadgets are unique and singular to each class, with an aim for you to always have access to a tool that fulfills the role of your class, separate from what you may choose as gadgets within your loadout. Like I mentioned previously, you can choose 2 gadgets on top of the class gadget. And finally, default weapon packages. The default weapon package is a preset combination of attachments and visual customization for each class to be combat ready, with the option for further progression and personalization. They then end this post with the What's Next section. Quote, the class system and its individual components will be available for testing within Battlefield Labs in the coming weeks. Participants will be able to go hands-on with these features, discuss, and provide feedback. Emphasis on provide feedback. Following further play sessions, we'll be back with another community update to unpack class components in more detail and share learnings based on participant feedback. So that is the official Battlefield Labs post. Now I want to cover some comments from David Sirland himself. And after I cover these comments, I'm going to give my opinion on this class situation and why I think it's being completely blown out of proportion. Here is a video that the official Battlefield Twitter uploaded, having David Sirland answer a question about the classes in Battlefield 6.
I think it's a key thing to make classes not be great at everything. That has been the recipe for this in the past. And we're looking at most games of the past, actually, when it comes to class identity, to try and make sure we can get 4 classes that hit the mark and that stand the test of time. We have flip-flopped back and forth quite a lot in our previous history, and we want to find something we can stick to.
So that is David Sirland's, I guess, quote-unquote, official statement on his stance on classes, but of course there's an unofficial statement because he apparently responded to somebody in the Battlefield Labs Discord, and of course this was leaked, so it reads as follows. Quote, incentives to play classes based on what they bring to the squad is one reason we are doing this. Not forcing a class-based weapon on choice. It needs to be clear and readable what the signature weapons being and balance as well. This whole thing needs that balance to find our class identities that can stand the test of time. It's why we're talking about and testing this topic with all of you at scale. This is a very divisive topic, and getting it right is crucial and valuable. This is not the approach of 2042 after the specialist changes. This is much more impactful. Play it, feedback on how it is impactful. Test the worries and combos you theorize will be bad for classes, and report back. We want classes to be more defined than ever, hence why we have more unique class gadgets and throwables than ever, plus traits and training. We don't want the bulk of the class definition to come from weapons alone. And I have to say, I am in agreement with David Sirland's perspective here, and now I will give you my perspective on this situation. And after I give you my perspective, I will also give you the perspective of Nickel. Some of you know who Nickel is, but for those of you that do not know who he is, Nickel is an extremely talented player. He was a competitive player in Battlefield 4, and he is incredibly knowledgeable when it comes to the balancing of not only weapons in Battlefield, but Battlefield games in general, because he is actually working on a Battlefield 4 remaster as I speak. Now then, my thoughts on the situation. So first things first, I think class locking weapons is something that Battlefield players assume is essential to Battlefield. They kind of get Stockholm syndromed into this thought, in my opinion. Locking weapons worked in Battlefield 1, for instance, because of the clear roles the weapons themselves served. It does not work the same way in a modern setting, purely because of the versatility of the weapons you can choose from. Now, a lot of people are bringing up the Battlefield 4 class system and saying it's incredible, saying it's this is what you should base the next game off of, but they're kind of just ignoring the way Battlefield 4's class system truly functioned, so let's take a deep dive into it. The Battlefield 4 class system offered many universal weapon types that really made the game incredibly versatile, and I think people are really ignoring it. Every class had access to shotguns, DMRs, and carbines. This means that any class in Battlefield 4 can one-tap kill you in CQC with a shotgun, any class in Battlefield 4 can two-tap you across the map with a DMR, and any class in Battlefield 4 can microburst you to death with carbines. The two things the Battlefield 4 class system truly prevents is number 1, LMGs being all class, and number 2, snipers being all class. With the way Battlefield 6 is shaping up to be, it looks as though there's going to be a gunsmith in the next Battlefield game, which means locking LMGs behind support in Battlefield 6 doesn't make any sense because there's going to be magazine customization, which is going to allow you to equip very high capacity magazines on essentially almost every weapon in the entire game that they are available on. The same is true with bolt actions. Bolt actions historically, though, have not been much of a threat outside of their completely overpowered counterparts in Battlefield 1. But in general, snipers in Battlefield have always been easily identifiable because of scope glint, and it's very important to point out that scope glint is not some sort of class-dependent thing. If your goal is restrictions upon classes, they have to be extremely strict, like in Battlefield 1, or else you do not gain the readability that people desire. You can, if you want, lock ARs behind Assault, SMGs behind Engineer, light machine guns behind Support, and snipers behind Recon, but then you have other pretty massive problems. What do you do with DMRs? What do you do with shotguns? Say you give DMRs to the Recon class. Okay, well, now you have to give shotguns to one of the 3 classes, and you only have 2 open weapon category slots. You can choose to split off battle rifles from the AR category and give them to Support, and you can give shotguns to the Assault class. That's basically the only way you can go about that. Now, I see some people complaining that Battlefield 4's system kept the best weapons, which are assault rifles, reeled in by locking them in the assault class. But this, in my opinion, is a completely outdated argument. The next Battlefield has a great weapon designer, and we know that via inside information, okay? The guy that's on the weapon team for the next Battlefield appears to really understand what he's doing, and there were very large jumps in the way weapon balance took place, both in BF1 and in BF5, ignoring the insane blunders in Battlefield 5. There are many different ways that DICE has implemented weapon balance since Battlefield 4 and even Battlefield 3. On top of that, I really want to just hammer the point home that I really do believe that class gadgets make way more of a class-defining impact than class weapons ever did, as I detailed in the Battlefield 4 weapon system, which allowed for many, many weapon options per class. In fact, much more weapon options than I think people are admitting right now. For some reason, I get the idea that a lot of people think that you could only play with one certain weapon type per class in Battlefield 4, but that is not the reality. You could play Engineer with a DMR. You could play Scout with the ACWR. There were a ton of different things you could do. And I know some people are going to express quote-unquote class readability concerns when it comes to an open weapon system where you can equip any weapon on any class, but I have to say, these concerns, in my opinion, are completely null and void. There are so many very simple visual ways you could go about class identification. One very simple one is you shape the spot symbol over an enemy's head as their class symbol, or you could even have their class symbol on cosmetics, like on their chest or perhaps an arm patch. There are many things you can do in the modern gaming era to make class readability a thing without having weapon restrictions on classes, especially when it comes to class silhouette and general cosmetic feel and look. So those are my thoughts on the situation. Now I'm going to give you Nickel's thoughts. Now, Nickel helped me write my paragraphs for this video, so you're going to see some very similar viewpoints simply because I couldn't say it any better than Nickel said it. I really do agree with what Nickel has to say here. Nickel starts off this post by saying, quote, "I see people complaining about the lack of class-locked weapons, only to quote Battlefield 4, a game where weapon restrictions were largely irrelevant, as a shining example of class design done right. Any class could one-shot you up close with a shotgun, double-tap you with a DMR at long range, or microburst you at any range with a short-barreled assault rifle. BF4's system effectively limited access to machine guns and bolt-action sniper rifles. However, locking machine guns behind the support class in Battlefield 6 seems pointless when you can customize the magazine size of any rifle. I can understand why making bolt actions available to everyone might be a point of contention, but Scope Glint allows you to detect snipers, and if you die to a sniper using a red dot, how is that different from being one-tapped by a 44 Magnum revolver? I, for one, am glad DICE is decoupling weapon choice from class choice, which in the past often dictated a player's class selection. This comes from someone who loved Battlefield 1's strict class design, which greatly improved gameplay readability. That said, I don't think such a rigid system would work in a modern setting with highly versatile weapons and what appears to be a sensible gunsmith system. So that marks the end of Nickel's remarks on this subject. Now, I have to say, I think they should either go with an extremely restrictive system like we saw in Battlefield 1 to firmly define the classes, or they should go with no weapon restrictions at all. I think a very large portion of the Battlefield community is stuck in 2013, so to say. They think because Battlefield 4 had some sort of notoriously poor weapon balance that we have to have weapon restrictions all the time. In my opinion, I think classes can be very clearly defined without weapon restrictions. You have to make sure the gadgets are well defined and the purpose of the class is well defined. That doesn't always include weapons. As we saw in Battlefield 4, a bunch of people were playing Recon with the ACWR. A bunch of people were playing Medic with a DMR. A bunch of people were playing Assault with a shotgun. A bunch of people played Engineer with DMRs as well. So I think there's a lot more versatility in older Battlefield games than people would like to admit, aside from, very setting-restricted games such as Battlefield 1, which had very clear, defined classes. And it's also worth pointing out that in Battlefield 5, the weapons that were available to classes were also very versatile. The Medic class had a couple bolt actions available to it, if you remember. I think it was called the Jungle Carbine. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but there has really always been this sort of underlying class weapon versatility within Battlefield. It has never been this super hardline, super restrictive thing, unless we have like a World War I setting, which I don't think will ever happen again in a Battlefield franchise game. I will close this video out by just saying some very personal thoughts of mine. I don't care what they do as long as it's not completely overpowered. I think the system that they have laid out won't be overpowered because I think it's going to be power checked by these Battlefield Labs play sessions, and they may even cave to community pressure and go with a Battlefield 4 class system. That is a very real possibility. Nothing is set in stone with this game so far. So I think everyone should calm down a little bit, and we'll see what happens. I genuinely don't care what they do either way. I've played Battlefield games for the better part of a decade with multiple different class systems, and I've really never had a problem with any of them, aside from balance issues here and there. So please let me know your thoughts on this announcement from DICE. There seems to be a lot of outrage in the community right now, but as I've stated multiple times in this video, I don't necessarily think it is 100% justified just yet. So I would love to hear from you guys. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. If you've never come by a stream, I stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders, first link in the description, as well as the Discord and my Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video.